Part 2 of the Alien Corn. The time is 9:13 p.m. I haven't even had dinner yet, people of Earth. And it's the 7th of July 2025. But we're back to complete this wonderful story. So here we go, people of Earth. George gave no sign of nervousness. He was already seated at the piano when I went in with his father and mother, and he watched us quietly settling ourselves down. He gave me the shadow of a smile. When he saw that we were all at our ease, he began to play. He played Chopin. He played two waltzes that were familiar to me, a polonaise and an étude. He played with a great deal of brio. I wish I knew music well enough to give an exact description of his playing. It had strength and a youthful exuberance, but I felt that he missed what to me is the peculiar charm of Chopin, the tenderness, the nervous melancholy, the wistful gaiety, and the slightly faded romance that reminds me always of an early Victorian keepsake. And again I had the vague sensation, so slight that it almost escaped me, that the two hands did not quite synchronize. I looked at Ferdy and saw him give his sister a look of faint surprise. Muriel's eyes were fixed on the pianist, but presently she dropped them, and for the rest of the time stared at the floor. His father looked at him too. His eyes were steadfast, but unless I was much mistaken, he went pale, and his face betrayed something like dismay. Music was in the blood of all of them. All their lives they had heard the greatest pianists in the world, and they judged with instinctive precision. The only person whose face betrayed no emotion was Leah Maycutt. She listened very attentively. She was as still as an image in a niche. At last he stopped, and turning round on his seat faced her. He did not speak. "What is it you want me to tell you?" she asked. They looked into one another's eyes. "I want you to tell me whether I have a chance of becoming in time a pianist in the first rank, not in 1,000 years. For a moment there was dead silence. Freddie's head sank and he looked down at the carpet at his feet. His wife put out her hand and took his, but George continued to look steadily at Leah Maycutt. "Ferdy has told me the circumstances," she said at last. "Don't think I'm influenced by them. Nothing of this is very important." She made a great sweeping gesture that took in the magnificent room with the beautiful things it contained and all of us. "If I thought you had and knew the makings of an artist, I shouldn't hesitate to beseech you to give up everything for art's sake. Art is the only thing that matters. In comparison with art, wealth and rank and power are not worth a straw." She gave us a look so sincere that it was void of insolence. We are the only people who count. We give the world significance. You are only our raw material. I was not too pleased to be included with the rest under that heading, but that is neither here nor there. Of course I can see that you've worked very hard. Don't think it has been wasted. It will always be a pleasure to you to be able to play the piano, and it will enable you to appreciate great playing as no ordinary person can hope to do. Look at your hands. They're not a pianist's hands. Involuntarily, I glanced at George's hands. I had never noticed them before. I was astounded to see how pudgy they were and how short and stumpy the fingers. Your ear is not quite perfect. I don't think you can ever hope to be more than a very competent amateur. In art, the difference between the amateur and the professional is immeasurable. George did not reply. Except for his pallor, no one would have known that he was listening to the blasting of all his hopes. The silence that fell was quite awful. Leah Maycott's eyes suddenly filled with tears. But don't take my opinion alone, she said. After all, I'm not infallible. Ask somebody else. You know how good and generous Paderewski is. I'll write to him about you, and you can go down and play to him. I'm sure he'll hear you. George now gave a little smile. He had very good manners, and whatever he was feeling did not want to make the situation too difficult for others. I don't think that's necessary. I am content to accept your verdict. To tell you the truth, it's not so very different from my master's in Munich. He got up from the piano and lit a cigarette. It eased the strain. The others moved a little in their chairs. Leah Maycott smiled at George. Shall I play to you? She said. Yes, do. She got up and went to the piano. She took off the rings with which her fingers were laden. She played Bach. I do not know the names of the pieces, but I recognized the stiff ceremonial of the Frenchified little German courts, and the sober, thrifty comfort of the burghers, and the dancing on the village green, the green trees that looked like Christmas trees, and the sunlight on the wide German country, and a tender coziness, and in my nostrils there was a warm scent of the soil, and I was conscious of a sturdy strength that seemed to have its roots deep in Mother Earth, and of an elemental power that was timeless and had no home in space. She played beautifully with a soft brilliance that made you think of the full moon shining at dusk in the summer sky. With another part of me, I watched the others, and I saw how intensely they were conscious of the experience. They were rapt. I wished with all my heart that I could get from music the wonderful exaltation that possessed them. She stopped. A smile hovered on her lips, and she put on her rings. George gave a little chuckle. That clinches it, I fancy, he said. The servants brought in tea, and after tea, Leah, Maycut, and I bade the company farewell and got into the car. We drove to London. She talked all the way, if not brilliantly, at all events with immense gusto. She told me of her early years in Manchester and of the struggle of her beginnings. She was very interesting. She never even mentioned George. The episode was of no consequence. It was finished, and she thought of it no more. We little knew what was happening at Tilby. When we left, George went out on the terrace, and presently his father joined him. Freddie had won the day, but he was not happy. With his more than feminine sensitiveness, he felt all that George was feeling, and George's anguish simply broke his heart. He had never loved his son more than then. When he appeared, George greeted him with a little smile. Freddie's voice broke. In a sudden and overwhelming emotion, he found it in him to surrender the fruits of his victory. "Look here, old boy," he said. "I can't bear to think that you've had such a disappointment. Would you like to go back to Munich for another year and then see?" George shook his head. "No, it wouldn't be any good. I've had my chance. Let's call it a day. Try not to take it too hard. You see, the only thing in the world I want is to be a pianist, and there's nothing doing. It's a bit thick if you come to think of it." George, trying so hard to be brave, smiled wanly. "Would you like to go round the world? You can get one of your Oxford pals to go with you, and I'll pay all the expenses. I wish I had a father like that. Anyway, you've been working very hard for a long time." "Thanks awfully, Daddy. We'll talk about it. I'm just going for a stroll now." "Shall I come with you?" "I'd rather go alone." Then George did a strange thing. He put his arm round his father's neck and kissed him on the lips. He gave a funny little moved laugh and walked away. Freddie went back to the drawing room. His father, Ferdy, and Muriel were sitting there. "Freddie, why don't you marry the boy?" said the old lady. "He is 23. It would take his mind off his troubles, and when he is married and has a baby, he will soon settle down like everybody else." "Whom is he to marry, Mamma?" asked Sir Adolphus, smiling. "That's not so difficult. Lady Frelinghuysen came to see me the other day with her daughter Violet. She is a very nice maiden, and she will have money of her own. Lady Frelinghuysen gave me to understand that her Sir Jacob would come down very handsome if Violet made a good match." Muriel flushed. "I hate Lady Frelinghuysen. George is much too young to marry. He can afford to marry anyone he likes." Old Lady Bland gave her daughter a strange look. "You are a very foolish girl, Miriam," she said, using the name Muriel had long discarded. "As long as I am here, I shall not allow you to commit a foolishness." She knew as well, as if Muriel had said it in so many words, that she wanted George to marry a Gentile. But she knew also that so long as she was alive, neither Freddie nor his wife would dare to suggest it. But George did not go for a walk. Perhaps because the shooting season was about to open, he took it into his head to go into the gun room. He began to clean the gun that his mother had given him on his 20th birthday. No one had used it since he went to Germany. Suddenly the servants were startled by a report. When they went into the gun room, they found George lying on the floor, shot through the heart. Apparently the gun had been loaded, and George, while playing about with it, had accidentally shot himself. One reads of such accidents in the paper often. The only answer to that is auf Deutsch. Och Gott, Mensch. Oh dear God. Well, anyway. We'll continue the next story called The Creative Impulse tomorrow, people of Earth. It was a very tragic ending to that story, but not unexpected, really. It's quite normal for one who's mediocre and mundane and had everything torn from them over and over again, all their hopes and dreams floating down the sewer of Holland Park to flirt with death in that way. But it's a beautiful life, and my gods keep me here. Astonishing, isn't it? Astonishing. Anyway, I bid you all good evening. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, in spite of that tragic story ending so badly. And it was a bit triggering for me, given the themes. But anyway, life goes on, people. Every day in every way. Aspire to be the best version of yourself and find another hobby if one fails miserably after 2 years. I felt like that. I got very despairing when I was struggling with that cuff and it kept failing. Everything kept going wrong with it. I fell into a bit of a hole a few times in those weeks, but like a berserker, warrior, goddess, Viking, and a proud Jewish woman at heart, I fought my way through and finished it, and very happy with it. I mean, it's a bit, it's not, it's a bit flawed, and it's a bit, what's the word? What's the word for a piece of jewellery that isn't quite perfect? It's a bit parochial, is that the word? No, that's not the word. There's a word for it. It's drifted out of my head. Naive art, I guess. But look, I completed it. I fought through till I got the little butterflies soldered on, and then they wouldn't solder, and so I made rivets, and then one wouldn't rivet, and I made another rivet, and I fought through that. And then I set the stone, and I had a bit of difficulty with that, and I fought through that. And I wear it in good health and happiness. with a feeling of achievement because I fought for it for weeks, 8 weeks. Even took a week or 2 off because I was so despairing that I could ever do it, but I did it. And who knows what other talents I may yet, discover as I get older disgracefully, or gracefully as the case may be. Anyway, blessed be. It's very cold this evening, it's 13 degrees. Got cool again. It was a lovely warm day the last couple of days, but temperatures dropping at night. Well, it's winter in Brisbane, Australia, so one has to expect that. Anyway, blessed be to my darling ones, and I'll be back tomorrow with a new story.